My name is Jaden Logan, and we are going to be talking about air medical transportation and traditional transportation. So first, let's start with what is air medical transportation? Well, air medical transportation is a type of way of getting to the hospital. The only times that you would use this type of transportation is it really just depends on your situation or how your body is dealing with it. If you are having a heart transplant or something very serious along those lines and need it immediately, that is when you would use air medical transportation because they can get there very fast and also get you to the place that you need to be very, very quickly. Traditional transportation. It is basically you see this type of transportation every day in the medical field. This is if you're choking, your heart stops, something that is life-threatening but doesn't need to be taken care of like on the dot. Yes, it needs to be taken care of on the dot, but something that can take time. You can take your time getting to the hospital while being cared for in the ambulance or the vehicle that you're being transported in. So, some advantages to air medical transportation. Obviously, you get there very fast. You don't have to worry about the roads, which, like in traditional transportation, it takes time to get there. So you have to deal with the traffic. You have to deal with people not moving over so you can get past them and get straight to the hospital. You have to go through all these curvy roads. It's just a less slower way of getting to the hospital. While medical, it's a straight shot there for air transportation. Some disadvantages for the air medical transportation is that they don't have every medical equipment that might be needed. Say you're getting a heart transplant and you go into cardiac arrest. They might not have the equipment to take care of you to snap you back into where you need to be. While the ambulance has many different types of equipment and medical equipment that any situation they're thrown at them, they pretty much have any type of equipment to be used for. Um, while doing my research on all of this, there's actually not air medical and traditional. There's no better one. There's not going to be one that's better than the other. It really depends on the patient and what type of situation they are in. There's really no advantage or disadvantage. Everything just depends on the patient and how they are being treated or cared for and what they need. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
So, I got questions for you first, and then I'll give you my comments. Actually, I'll leave my comments until after you. Who makes the decision of which transportation to use?
Well, there's actually different answers for that one. There's some where people can call it if they feel like it is, but the cost for an air transportation is between 12,000 to 25,000. But the highest that somebody has ever had to pay was $6 million
For air transport?
for air transport because they used much of their medical equipment and they had to clean the helicopter after that, so that was also more equipment that they had to use, so it was very expensive. And if they do call 911 and an ambulance is sent out and they think that the patient is like too critical, they need there to get there now, they can actually call in an air transport.
Okay.
And then so it really just depends.
Gotcha. Is there like in your research did you come to any information where it mentions anything about a distance threshold of when to make the decision of which one? For example, if I'm in a horrific accident on I-75, exit 136, which is Corning Boulevard, and I need a level 1 trauma, and then there's one in Naples, there's one in Sarasota, and there's one in St. Petersburg. So is there anything that you came across that said if you within X amount of miles of level 1, you take it to level 1, or is it gonna go? Did you come up?
I actually did. It really depends on how busy they are and how fast they need the treatment for, or if they have a doctor at this hospital and their doctor is the only one that can care for them and like knows their issue.
Yeah.
They will transport them to that hospital. It really depends how busy. If they have a doctor there that knows exactly how to deal with that, and others don't. It really just depends on the patient's condition.
So what I hear you say is we base on the patient's condition and the level of critical care that they need, plus where the right doctor is to be able to treat those issues.
Yes.
So if it's somebody in St. Pete, obviously we're not going to drive. We're going to need air transport.
Yes.
If that happens.
Yes.
And so here's another question too. I don't know if they answered that through your research. Why wouldn't they have the equipment that they need in air transport if they already know the condition? So if I have a heart issue, a cardiac issue, why wouldn't they be equipped to have the cardiac issues? Because that I can have complications of that.
Well, when they call in, they ask what's the patient's condition and what is wrong with them. They'll go off their head like, okay, this guy's having a heart attack. Obviously, we're going to need this certain equipment,
Right.
and something else can happen. They might not have that equipment for it because since it's just a tiny helicopter with only a certain amount of space needed, they're not going to carry everything that an ambulance would have. So that yes, they have equipment for that situation that they're in, but patients, it's never really like in a line of what's going to happen. They never know because anything could happen.
Right.
So they might not have that equipment for that certain case that might show up.
Okay. So what I hear you say is when you talk about air transport, you're talking about particularly the helicopter.
Yes.
Transport. Because there is regular jets, airplanes that are used in air transport too.
Yes.
So did you come across that, and what did you learn about it? Is there a big difference between flying on a plane and flying on a helicopter for the patient in the
There's
treatment?
actually two different types of air medical. There's the typical air medical, which go to hospitals, and then you have, I don't remember what it was called, but it is for long distance. So in Florida, say somebody needs to go somewhere in like Illinois, they have a specific helicopter to go a long distance and get there fast. So there's two different types. You have one that is like around, which you normally see, and then you have another one that has to go long distance to like different states.
Okay. And you talked about the cars. Awesome. Good job.